Hey everybody, different video. I don't know how this is going to go, but Will Stonier, thanks Will so much. Man, yeah, all your comments are great. Anyway, Will Stonier was asking about tune Line for Lyons, and I got to be honest, I have never played the tune. I've heard it a few times. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that I've never played it. It is an unbelievable tune, but we were talking about, you know, he asked a question about like how many tunes, like how frequently do I learn new tunes and all that kind of stuff. And he's basically doing like one a month, which is great, doing a super deep dive into each tune that he's working on. And I think he's thinking about doing this Line for Lyons. So I talked to him about like how I went about when I was learning a lot of tunes in my late teens, early 20s, basically when I was in college. It was stuff that I was doing for gigs or I'd learn on jam sessions. But there were certain ways to help me learn tunes. I didn't memorize a lead sheet. Like, I think it's super important that we kind of move away from the lead sheet, although I always use it as maybe a double check for my ears. But understanding commonalities and certain ideas that are going to be used in other standards. And so I've listened now to Line for Lyons, you know, today. Will and I were kind of going back and forth in the comment section of the video. And so I figured I would take on the task of, let me just walk through how I would kind of work through this tune and learn this tune. And again, in all honesty, I have never played this tune, certainly not on a gig. I've never worked on it. I don't have a lead sheet on it. Now I have listened to it a couple of times, but let me walk you through my process. So if you can see my Chromebook here. Anyway, Line for Lyons is pulled up. So I don't want to get a copyright flag, but what I'll do is this. I'm going to play it, just the first few seconds of it, and then show you kind of how I do it. So now I'll start either on the horn or on the piano. Today I'm going to start on the piano because I want to show you some devices on this tune, but here's the beginning of this. Okay, now I've listened to this tune a couple of times, so let's just imagine that I'm doing this. I've listened to it a few times. I haven't looked at the sheet music. I'm trying to use my ears. I figured out the form of the tune. The form is basically AABA. So I just played the first A section. He's doing it in the key of G. And I noticed like an arpeggio to start. Now, it goes out of the key on the next note. Flat 7. What an interesting melody. I mean, that's really cool. So basically my step is this. I'm trying to transcribe the melody by ear, right? That's first step into learning because that's going to go way deeper than me just reading it. So I've put the work in. I'm going to fast forward now because again, I've listened to this tune a couple of times within the last hour. That's interesting too. So he's got this little chromatic step. But then, so a flat 6 and then a regular 6. That's the A section. Here it is again. Okay, and that happens twice, AA. Now the bridge, so this little line run up, and it depends on the recording. I listened to a couple recordings of this. It really depends on the recording. Like, there's a little bit of nebulous, depending on who the player is. So like Chet Baker's is a little bit different than Gerry Mulligan, the way he phrases it. But anyway. That's the B section. And then the melody, so A, A, B, that's the bridge, and then the last A section, same as the first. Sorry. Now, the melody is tricky. but not that tricky. Like, it's relatively diatonic, except for that beginning. That's not. But everything else, it makes a lot of sense if you understand the basic, some of the repeating harmonic devices that are used, the standard progressions. So in the key of G, it outlines basically a G major triad to begin. But then it goes to the flat 7. Now, instead of going to, so that would be G major, G7, instead of going to C major, which is where it should go, that G7, now it goes to C minor, which is awesome. Okay, so I hear that sound, the T for 2 sound. That's 7 of the 2 chord falling to 3 of the 5 chord. So I know that that's a 2-5 there. I just have to figure out what it is. In C minor, that's a 2. F7 would be the 5. So G7, C minor, F7. Now, common progression. 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 5. So we've got this 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. So half of the A section is just a standard turnaround. So we got the little thing in the beginning again, G, G7, 2, 5, C minor to F7. Now we just go 3, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 2, 5, back, C minor, F7, D, B minor, E7, A minor, D7, E, A minor, D7. Now G7. Now instead of going to C minor like we did before on the G7, now we actually go to C major. So we're going to the 4 chord. That's a very standard progression in jazz on the B section. Now here's another one. You could do a couple different chords there. And I'm not sure because I haven't checked the lead sheet. I would go like C minor 7, flat 5, C sharp minor 7, flat 5, to an F. Again, here's a 2-5. C sharp minor 7, flat 5 to F7, flat 9. Now we have just a string of 2-5s, but I've talked about this on a previous video. When we have this 4 chord, going to the sharp 4, 2-5. So sharp 4, C minor 7, so the 4 chord is C major 7, sharp 4, C minor 7, flat 5, F sharp 7 to 3, then to 6 with a flat 9, 2, 5 with a flat 9, 1, 2, 5, and then we go back to the A section. So the bridge is really genius. 4, and then string of 2 5s, just go up a half step. And then A section. Sorry, I did the melody wrong again. That's a little tricky melody there. And that's the tune. So that's kind of how I work through it. I think about that. So we've got some common progressions. We've got 3, 6, 2, 5, and we've got 1, 1, 6, 2, 5. Yeah, I mean, like the death of every music teacher, you know, like that progression that anybody plays when they come and sit at the piano. But that's the idea. So understanding this, 1, 6, 2, 5, and essentially 3, 6, 2, 5 is the same thing, just 3 is functioning as kind of the 1 chord there. And now the other common progression, you go to 4 major, and then it's just 2 5s, but you start the string of 2 5s up a half step. C sharp, F sharp, B minor, E7, A minor, D7, G, and then 2 5, A minor 7, D7 back to 1. So that is a really common progression. So the only tricky thing, there are 2 little tricks in this, or 2 little things that are not necessarily common, which make the tune beautiful. But this 1 major to 1 dominant to 4 minor, which becomes that 2 5, C minor 7, F7. And then we just go normal, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Okay, so learning that melody was super important, and I would learn it, and again, I really haven't played it on the horn, I've been working it out on the piano. So if it's in the key of G on the piano, it would be the key of A for me. Right, that would be the A section. Now here's the B. Again. Now 2 5 to 4. Up a half step. Can't get that. Okay, so I would work through that tune that way, and now with that in mind, if I understand the way that moves harmonically, so I know that I've got 1 dominant, then down to 4 minor, which ends up being the 2 5, and then 3 6 2 5, 1 6 2 5, and then back, and then the bridge goes to the 4 chord, and then up a half step to for that 2 5 chain. Well, I should be able to put that in multiple keys if I really understand all this. So like that was in the key of A. Let me pick a really tough key. How about and I haven't done this, so I'm sorry, I'll apologize ahead of time. How about I put it in E flat, my E flat. Now I know it's a triad to start. That's really weird because I'm used to hearing it in the other key. But that would be a great key to solo in. Ah. There it is. Now, I should be able to solo in this key if I understand the chords, so let's try to outline some stuff. Five to four, or just we're going one dominant, then to the four chord, up a half step, again, long video, like almost 17 minutes, but that's kind of the way I'm going to do it, and I'll work it through every key, but understanding that I need to understand the melody and know the melody. Now, I have not looked at a lead sheet yet, so I might be doing some stuff wrong, although, you know, lead sheets, they're always right. Sorry, let me wipe the sarcasm off my face. Okay, the lead sheets, when you find them online, are not always right. The best thing that you can do is actually transcribe it from the recording, because you know, if it's a tune by Gerry Mulligan, then I want to listen to Gerry Mulligan play and try to play what he plays, because he's the composer of the tune. So I'm going to trust my ears on that. Now, I think this is a great tune and one that I would like to add to my repertoire. And as I told Will in the comments, I really don't learn tunes now unless I need to learn them for a gig. But man, this is a great tune. I miss this one. Like, this one is awesome. And here I am, you know, decades later now, thanks, Will, like learning a tune. And so because of what Will said on this tune, I forced myself to go through the process. And so it really takes me about, in all reality at this point, for me, it takes me about an hour, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on the difficulty of the melody, to work through what the tune is, to get it in my ear. If I can kind of sing the melody or hear the melody, I'll quote Dr. Edwin Gordon, if I can audiate the melody, if I can hear the melody without it physically being present, and then I can replicate it on my horn or on the piano, man, that's gonna be a huge help in figuring out the harmony. Anyway, so some things to note on this tune. Again, the 1 to 1 dominant in the first measure, and then it goes to that 4 minor, which is really like a 2-5. So if you think of 4 minor, whatever your 4 minor is, that ends up being the 2 minor chord to a 5 chord. And then just a standard, go back into the original key, 3-6-2-5, 1-6-2-5. There's your A section. And then the bridge goes to the 4 chord, and then it goes up a half step, and that becomes the new 2. So it's a string of 2-5. So it's like sharp 4, minor 7 flat 5 to really 7 dominant. But if you just think of it like a string of 2 5s starting on the sharp 4, that will help. So sharp 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, and then back to the A section. All right, long, 20 minutes. But that's kind of my process. This is kind of how I learn tunes. And the most important thing is this, not the Chromebook, but listening to the tune as many times as possible so it's in your subconscious. Okay, hope this helps. Boy, I think it's been kind of wandering, but anyway, enjoy, keep practicing. Thanks, Will. Great call on this tune. All right.